Ladies and gentlemen, this is your MMOBomb.com first look at Argo, a tactical free-to-play first-person shooter currently available on Steam. I am the Noob Fridge Troy Blackburn. I will be your tour guide as we take a look at what the game has to offer. Keep in mind it is free to play and available for download right now on Steam if you decide you want to give it a shot. So what we're looking at for Argo obviously is a military-style tactical first-person shooter. This isn't a hero shooter. This isn't like Overwatch or Paladins where you've got tons of superpowers. You're a guy with a gun and hopefully some protection and some grenades, and you're going to go out and you're going to help your team defeat other enemies. The game mode you're watching right now is called Link. There are 4 different game modes, which we'll get to here in just a little bit when we go take a look at the menu. But this is sort of the shortest, fastest, smallest map that there is to play on. Games last relatively quickly, and you go through a series of rounds. The first team to win 3 rounds takes the match. Now, what we're looking at with Argo is a full standalone conversion of ARMA 3 from Bohemia Interactive. So a lot of folks around the internet kind of refer to this as ARMA 3 Lite. You kind of quick match, jump in and out, play as long or as short as you would like. And you're able to join active matches. You're able to start your own matches, anything you would like. There's also a quick queue system and those sort of things. Again, we'll get to whenever we get to the menu. But I want to show off a little bit of the gameplay first, listening to the feedback from the viewers. So what you're watching right now in the Link game mode is essentially point acquisition, point control, point defense. And we're moving out right now. Each team has point 1A and 1B that you have to capture first. And you're not going to be under a lot of fire right there at the beginning of the game. Then you got to move out and link point 2 to both of those 2 points, at which point you can move to the center and sort of fight over the main control point. Now, of course, while everyone's fighting over the main control area in the center there, you can sneak around if you would like, and you can take control points from your enemies that they've already taken over. You're going to also need to go back and defend your own control areas that your enemies are going to be sneaking around trying to take from you. And then also you're going to need to help support your allies as they're trying to take over the center control area, because at the end of the day, you want to link all these points together and accumulate points in the game over time. That way you can take the round. This is a 5v5 PvP map, and that being said, keep in mind there are 4 different game modes in the game available right now. This is just one of those. This is the smallest and quickest round of matches that there is. So this is the one that I sort of stuck to for the first look, just to get a feel for the game. Haven't played a ton of the other match types, but we'll go over what those are here in just a little bit. As you can see, this game is not about running in guns blazing all the time. You have to be very careful about where you are, keeping an eye on where the enemies are and where your teammates are and what they're doing, so that you can go support where you need to support, defend where you need to defend, and attack the points that you need to attack. Now, there is another way to win a round without necessarily taking all the points, and that is just to slaughter all of your enemies. Every time that your team gets a kill, you get a team ticket, and that's what allows one of your teammates to respawn whenever they die. Now, if you go in and you wipe out a bunch of the enemy team several kills in a row without them getting a kill back on you, then they're going to run out of respawn tickets, and you can also take a round that way. Now, the game has run relatively smooth for me. That being said, there were some pretty drastic issues the very first time I tried to load up the game. Assets were very, very slow to load. Took several minutes. The game had been running for 4 or 5 minutes before all the assets finally loaded in. Some of these trucks and vehicles you were seeing, there were textures that looked like ABC blocks. It was pretty terrible. There was a lot of frame stutter when I was trying to go into iron sights. After a while, that did smooth out, and after that first game that I experienced, my very first game ever, I haven't seen a lot of that since then. Or actually, I haven't really seen any of that since then. The game's run pretty smooth. There have been a few frame drops here and there, but nothing just so intense just to be a detriment to the enjoyment of the game so far. As far as the game modes there again, this is the small, quick, and dirty version. This one's called Link. This is set up and protect the array of search devices. You're sort of hacking computers to control different areas. You have to protect those to gain points to win a round. The next game mode is called Raid, and it's going to be something similar to what you're used to seeing in something like CSGO, where it's terrorists versus counter-terrorists, except this time you're not planting bombs and trying to stop the planting of bombs. You're trying to either infiltrate the enemy base and download intelligence, or you're the defenders and you're going to try to defend the enemy team from acquiring your intelligence. The largest PvP game mode is called Clash, and it's going to be something very similar to Link, except it's on a much larger scale with a bigger map. Rounds are going to take longer, got more area to cover. All these are 5v5 PvP game modes. The fourth and final game mode is a 10-player co-op versus AI experience on a large map. So if you're looking for something a little more PvE, maybe that's the game mode you're looking for. Now you'll see in my gameplay, I actually have markers that show me who my teammates are out in the world. That way I'm not accidentally shooting teammates. This is called, quote unquote, easy mode. And all that means is I've got those little markers that show me who my teammates are. And then I've got little markers out in the world where if I want to head towards like the main central point, I've got a little marker that sort of gives me an idea of which way I'm going. We've got a little mini map down in the corner. Now, if you don't want all that, if you want a fully immersive experience where you might shoot your friends, you might shoot the enemies, you can go in what's called normal mode, and it'll turn all of that off. Just be aware that, especially for new players, most likely you're going to get a lot of team killing because it is really difficult to tell who is who out there on the map without those markers letting you know at least who your teammates are. So let's talk a little bit about what the game is and what it isn't before we jump into looking at some of the menus and some of the character progression, which, by the way, is present in this game. There is no matchmaking per se. There are 4 quick start buttons in the opening menu, and you'll choose your game mode, and all that's essentially doing is finding you the best match for a server that's already got some folks ended up and running. It's not really matchmaking you with like folks of your skill level or anything like that. You're just sort of a quick jump to a server without having to look through tons and tons of server lists, which you can do manually if you would prefer to do that. So you go in, you'll actually have to choose which team you're going to be on and say when you're ready and load in, and you will join matches in progress. You will be able to start new lobbies if you want to and start your own game and wait for folks to show up. So just be aware sometimes that the power balance can be a little off while bots fill in for maybe rooms that aren't full, or you may be jumping in mid-combat in the middle of a match with some other folks, and you will still get rewards for doing so, but you will not get full rewards if you were not there for the entire match. You will get rewards based on the amount of contribution and time that you were in the game. With all that being said, let's make a jump out to the menus real quick and take a look at some of the character progression and the quick link buttons to get into the games. And before we do that, we're going to jump real quick to the finishing screen so you can see the end of the game and see that your boy came in 3rd place in points, I believe it was. So, you know, I'm not great, but I'm not terrible either. As you can see, we are now in the main menu. As you can see, we've got the quick links to the different game modes. Quick links, top one's name linked. This is the one we've been playing mostly. This is the small 5v5 match. We've got the raid, which is slightly larger, which is the infiltrate and download the intelligence or stop that from happening. You've got the clash, which is very similar to Link, except on a much larger scale. Then you've got the compact patrol, which is 10-player co-op against AI. Going into our equipment browser, and as you can see, we're going to get a heck of a loading screen here. This game seems to have a small loading issue. Other than that, as we talked about, you know, assets loaded a little rough at first, my very first game ever. But other than that, the game has run okay. It's been pretty fun to play. So after we get past this monster loading screen, you can see that we've got our loadouts menu. You can go in and you can change, you know, what we've got right now is starter weapons. We've got these 4 different assault rifles that we can choose from to start. You can decide which pistol you want to use, grenades, vests. This is all mostly visual stuff right now. Although later on, as you'll see in the skill tree here in just a moment, we can unlock protective vests. You've got a lot of cosmetic control here. You've got caps and different things to make your guy look the way you kind of want him to look. No actual character like the model itself. I haven't found a way to actually change that around at all. But as far as our cosmetics, we've got lots of stuff to put on. Backpacks, we don't have any of yet. So from there, you can go into your armory, where you can see different weapon grades. And here's the next tier of assault rifles. It'll take a point to unlock these. That's what we get for leveling up. We've had 2 points because we've leveled up twice so far in the game. I've actually spent those in the tree already, as you'll see here in just a moment. But you can see your rifles. And then here, if you've got attachments, suppressors, sights, things like that, you can attach those to said weapons. And the skill tree is where you unlock your ability to use everything. As you can see, we've got the first tier of assault rifles. And here we can unlock the second tier of assault rifles with 2 points. What I've chose to do myself instead is I just went with smoke grenades and regular grenades so that I could go back and add those into my main loadout here. So I've got double grenades right now. Here's where you'll also unlock the ability to use things like sights and suppressors. So you're going to have to level up, and you'll get these points right here every time you do so. And then you can spend those to unlock each of these trees. Then when you go back into your armory, as you can see, there's a cost associated with actually, once you've unlocked the whole group, unlocking each weapon or attachment, and that's these points right up here that you get simply by playing the game. And finally, what I wanted to show you is the level editor. You can go in and create your own maps. You can roam around the world. You've got a bird's eye view, up and down and in and out. And then you can add things to the world, such as, let's add a helicopter. You can place a helicopter there. You can place men if you would want to. Scouts. You've got other vehicles as well. But you can go in and sculpt the terrain, create your own level that you want to play. You can test it out for yourself, or you can invite other people to play on your new custom map. So that's a pretty cool feature. A lot of folks will probably enjoy quite a bit of that. All things considered, I can't say that I haven't had fun playing Argo. There are some bugs, some issues here and there. I have seen some guys lagging. I have seen a couple of what appears to be some pretty serious aimbotting, but it hasn't been rampant. It was just one game and one guy, and I recognized the guy's name instantly and started avoiding lobbies that he was in. Other than that, had a good time. The game's run relatively well, other than a few bugs here and there. So we're going to call this a wrap for the first look on Argo. As always, check out MMOBomb.com for all your free-to-play online gaming needs. I've been the Noob Fridge, Troy Blackburn. You can check me out on twitch.tv/NoobFridge. The Argo first look is done, and I am out.